Hello, Hero Collectors here. How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all are doing fantastic. I know I am, and welcome on into my review for the Deadpool and Wolverine Marvel Legends wave. We have Deadpool, Wolverine in his yellow costume, and then Logan with Headpool. I'm not leaning into that Headpool with Logan joke. Logan is the main figure, Headpool is the accessory. Now, if you've seen any of my previous reviews, usually I would do a voiceover and just show the pictures I took with these figures. But starting this new year, I have decided to change up my review style and go a bit more traditional, where we'll go over the figure and the details and any potential reuse, discuss the figure overall, then show the accessories, then show the articulation, and then as I give my final thoughts on the figure, my rating of the figure, and if the figure has fun factor, that is when I will show a slideshow of the pictures I took. I'm just changing things up a little bit so that in the new year my videos are a bit more entertaining. I hope. We'll see if you guys like it. But without further ado, let's get into the actual review and start with Logan and Headpool. Okay, getting into this Logan figure. This is the casual look that he had at the beginning of his journey at the bar with Deadpool. But of course it is slightly inaccurate, as this jacket should be a bit darker, as well as the pants. And the shirt should really be buttoned up. I don't know if the gloves were actually in his pocket in this scene, but I do appreciate the details. As we move down, you can see he does actually share his shoes with the yellow suit Wolverine, but they are actually painted differently. You can see that strap is actually blue instead of black. But this figure is actually a lot of reuse. If I bring in the jacketed Logan from the X-Men 20th anniversary, you can see the torsos are actually reused, as you can see there with the exposed shirt. And the legs are reused as well. But what is new on this figure is the arms, the jacket, and the actual crotch piece, because as you can see on this figure, he has a belt buckle. This one, it's just a standard belt. And while you may think that this head sculpt is reused, it actually is not. It is slightly different. He has a bit more bags under his eyes compared to the other Wolverine head sculpt from the yellow-suited Logan. He just has a little bit more age to him, and I appreciate that. I will say that if you do want to swap these heads, you can do it. It's just, I think this head is meant for a smaller ball peg, and it doesn't like to go on very easy. You can get it on, but it stretches out the head, and it does look a little squat on the figure. So it is an option, but it's just not ideal. Putting this head back on, so take a look at the back of the figure. Not a lot of paint detail. And then you see the shirt does not continue to the back of the figure, but there is Logan. The only accessories he comes with, aside from the clawed hands, which are the better clawed hands that we get, these are the movie claws. He does come with a set of fists. And then, of course, he has the Headpool accessory. As you can see, he's got a lot of detail. You can see the eyes printed on there. The teeth have a lot of grime and shade to them, as does the rest of the bone on the skull. It wraps around. He's got the little old school football helmet and a propeller. The only articulation on this figure is the propeller itself. And yeah, he comes with a clear stand that we have seen before, actually with previous Headpool figures. So now getting into the articulation on this Logan figure, he can look up a little bit, he can look down, he has some side-to-side motion, look side to side, and then let's see, the shoulders can go up that far, down, full 360. He does have butterfly joints in there that you can see, but he can't utilize them as well because of the jacket. He's got bicep rotation, pinless double jointed elbows. The jacket on the previous jacketed Logan does not have pinless. And all the hands hinge up and down like so. We've got a crunch there at the torso. A little bit of back. Again, jacket can restrict that. He does have a swivel here at the waist. He spread his legs out that far and then kick that far. No real back. Cut at the thigh. And we got pinned double jointed knees, as you can see there, and he can kick his own butt. And then he can get down, tiny bit of up, not very much actually. And then he has ankle pivot. So now is the part where I'm going to talk about my final thoughts on this figure, give it a rating, and does he have the fun factor? So my final thoughts. This is a version of Logan that we didn't necessarily need to get from the movie, but I do appreciate that they made it. I understand why they made it. They were probably only given so much reference from the movie, and the Hasbro team probably did not know about all the different Logan variants we would see in the movie. So I do appreciate that they gave us a more casual Logan for those that may have missed out on a few of the previous ones. And this is still a good, solid figure on its own, even though it is inaccurate. Now the Headpool, I am a bit disappointed by, despite how good it looks. I wish he had the spine detail coming out of the back of the head that he had in the movie. Again, they may not have known about that, but at minimum, I wish the Hasbro team would have given him an articulated jaw. It would have just created for more expression, and he does talk in the movie, so it just would have really been nice if we would have gotten that from this Headpool. So does this Logan have the fun factor? For me, I'm going to say yes, but I am a huge Wolverine fan, so I am always going to find excuses and reasons to pose up a Wolverine hacking and slashing with his claws. If you are not a big Wolverine fan and mainly just want the yellow suit, I think this figure would probably be a pass and not have the fun factor where the yellow one would. So for me, I think fun factor, yes. For those that are not huge Wolverine fans, I would say no. And to give this figure a rating, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10 for me is pretty average. That is where I would say you can absolutely pay full price for a figure and get your money's worth. Again, for me, I'm a big Wolverine fan, so I was going to buy this regardless. But if you are just looking for a casual Wolverine, maybe not with the context of this movie, this would be a great addition to the collection. The Headpool itself, I wish was a little bit better, but it is a great addition that I hope means we will get more Deadpool core members in the future. So yeah, with that, let's move on to the Deadpool figure. All right, moving on, we're taking a look at the Deadpool figure. Now, in the camera itself, it's coming off a little orange. I hope in the actual video edit it looks a bit more red because it's a bit like a cherry red color. I do really like this color. A lot of people I've seen said it looks too toyish. I think it works pretty perfectly. I've also seen complaints that he's not dirty enough, and I get that both for this figure and for Wolverine because, you know, they do get the dirty throughout the film, throughout their many fights, but I think that this figure still looks really good. I always prefer a pristine version of a costume over a dirtied up version just because I want the ideal look of the character. But as you can see throughout the costume, he has the black and red standard colors for Deadpool, but he also has several hits of gold throughout different parts. You can see on the hands as well, and on the boots, and on all the straps and buckles and belts and what have you. Not a ton on the back though. Going over what is reuse, I believe it's the sheaths, the swords, the guns, the hands, maybe the arms. I'm not 100% on that. I think, here, I was going to save the comparison for here in a minute, but, you know, I think if the arms are reused, it's only the top half. The bottom half here has more wrinkles. The shoulders may be more reuse. I can't tell. The head may be reused, but otherwise, the rest of the body is completely new compared to the previous Deadpool. This is the 2-pack version, not the Legacy re-release. And the hands are reuse. I don't have the same exact hand on the previous Deadpool, but it's the same sculpt. I checked. He did come with more hands than this guy. This is the one where the guns were glued in. This one did not have guns glued into the figure. So I do really appreciate that. To go over the accessories, the only ones that aren't on his person are an extra set of hands. These are the trigger figure hands for the guns. He has sword-wielding hands on him currently. But then, of course, you have the 2 swords. Again, that one's actually stuck. but you can see that there. It's got a hit of silver on the blade. It is the exact same sculpt as the previous Deadpool. Oh no, this is what I was afraid of. Oh! There, I was able to get it out. Maybe word of advice, don't keep the swords in the sheaths for very long. Maybe display him with the swords or something, as the paint, I believe, is getting stuck on the inside of the sheaths. So maybe if I do that, it'll help. But then, of course, you have the guns, and they are just a standard black color. I really wish he did come with the gold guns, but again, maybe Hasbro did not know about that. And then you have the baby knife that goes in the sheath right there. So yeah, that's about everything. Need to go over with the figure. Let's go over articulation. He can look way, way up. That is the kind of range I want to see with a dumbbell joint, Hasbro. This is really good. And then you can see he can tilt his head pretty far. That's great for a Deadpool figure. And pretty far that way. He can look down pretty decently. And, you know, he gets all kinds of rotation because it is on a dumbbell. Arms go up that far. You can do full 360, and he's got a pretty good butterfly joint, bicep swivel, double jointed pinless elbows. The previous figure was pinless at the arms as well. And then he's got a crunch down, crunch back a little bit, but you will run into the sword sheaths. He has a waist swivel, and the belt will get out of the way. You can even see a little indent on the lower part of the pants to see where the belt buckle is supposed to rest. Hips can go out this far when you have the guns in, but if you take the gun out, you can actually get a little bit farther, as you can see. But then he can, of course, kick forward and back a little bit more than other figures can. He's got a nice thigh swivel there at the straps, and the straps on this side hide it well as well. And you see double jointed pinless knees. The previous figure did have pinned knees. You can see the foot can go down, can go up, and he does have the ankle pivot. So what are my final thoughts on Deadpool? This Deadpool is really good. I love the range of articulation. I love the colors. I love the accessories that he does come with. And overall, it makes him a very satisfying Deadpool figure. But my biggest complaint with this figure is what he doesn't include. This is the 4th release of a movie Deadpool, and we still don't have an unmasked Wade Wilson head. And since this figure reuses the hand sculpt of the previous Deadpool figures, I don't get why we didn't receive all the sets of hands. He had a set of fisted hands and a set of wide open expressive hands with the previous Deadpool. So why we didn't get those with the gold stripes is kind of frustrating to me. I did actually swap those out on this figure for a couple photos. So, you know, they can still work. I just really would have appreciated to really fill out this pack if we got those. And then, of course, the Golden Guns or Dogpool would have really been great to have, but Hasbro might not have known about those to include them. So, now does this figure have the fun factor? Oh, absolutely yes. I had a blast posing this figure both alone and with Wolverine and with other characters. He is so posable and in general just a great Deadpool figure to have. That head range especially really made me like this figure a lot more than I was expecting to. So what is my final rating on him? I'm going to give him an 8.5 out of 10. If he had some extra accessories than what he came with, I probably would have given him a 9.5 out of 10. But with all that said, let's move on to the Wolverine. Okay, moving on to Wolverine here. I have to really try to hide my excitement, but it's not going to be very easy. This is my dream costume for Wolverine, and I'm so happy they executed it so well in figure form. You can see the head sculpt here with the mask. Looks pretty sick. The yellow, the black, the skin tone, and facial hair looks really, really good. Move to the back there. There's texturing throughout all the yellow and blue, but on some parts like the shoulder pads and the gloves, it is not present. You can see just kind of the texturing at certain angles, some silver dots, some blue, some black throughout. You can see some on the boots that is not textured, but other parts that are. This copy of the figure doesn't really have many paint issues. I'm going to bring out a second copy here in a minute that I did get some splotching on. You got the nice red belt there. Now, I want to take a second to talk about the shoulders. They have implemented a new butterfly system that instead of just forward and back motion, it's on a ball, so it can just kind of range up and down as well, which I think is what some imports do, and I know McFarlane does, but I've seen some comments in regards to this figure being a little frumpy. Like, the torso just doesn't accentuate a muscular Wolverine. But what I've found is, depending on how you pose him, like if you just have him straight vanilla, like pose like this, he's gonna look a little frumpy, because I think the thighs are a little too thick and the torso is just, it's a little wide. And I understand why they did it. Looking at the movie and some of probably what the reference was, I can see why some of the proportions are the way they are. The way the suit lays on Hugh in the live action movie, it lays that way in some instances. But what I've found is, if you kind of crunch the torso forward a little bit, you make sure the shoulders are up, and you maybe bring in one arm to just kind of cut through it, and you kind of pose from the side, the proportions look so much better, and it kind of hides a bit of the frumpiness that you would get. So I recommend, if that is an issue for you, just kind of mess around with the figure a little bit, and even if it's not straight, vanilla, school photo Wolverine, try to do something like this, and it really helps the overall look of and proportion of this figure. Really quick, these claws are brand new. They do resemble the other movie claws, like with the Logan in this wave, but these are new because they have these sheaths actually attached, but they look really good. All my copies have been straight, and I've had no real issues with them. But getting into the accessories, I'm just going to bring in a whole nother figure. As you can see, I've got all the accessories on both of these Logans here. You got the mask head, you got the unmasked head, which I think is probably the best likeness to Hugh Jackman we have. We got the set of clawed hands, and then we have a fist and kind of like a grip hand. So that is just about everything that he comes with, but I also wanted to bring this in for just a moment. This is the extra masked head that came with this Logan. As you can see, the molds didn't line up properly. I might be able to fix it, but just if you have a chance to look at a copy before you purchase it, take a look at the masked head and see if that lined up. Just kind of a warning for future purchases. Oh, and speaking of paint defects, I do have a slight issue there on that arm, and I think, yeah, right there. But overall, it hasn't been too bad. Even the third copy of this figure that I have, as you can see, I bought 3, doesn't have very many paint defects. So just really, I would look at the yellow in the box before you purchase it in hand, but otherwise I haven't come across many paint defects for this figure or QC issues, just the masked head and a little bit there. So alright, now let's go over the articulation on this figure. He has a dumbbell at the neck, so he can look up that much, as you can see, and down that much. A little bit of wobblage, and of course side to side. And since I have the other figure here, let's look at the alternate heads articulation. You can see it goes up that far, and it goes down that far, and he gets some wobblage as well, and of course side to side. And we'll just stick with this figure for the rest of the articulation segment. The shoulders are a little hindered because of the shoulder pad, but in most cases it doesn't really affect it. I was still able to get all the poses I wanted. Then you can see he does have the new butterfly joint there, and you have the bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that can get up really far. All of the hands are up and down hinges. He has a crunch forward, a crunch back, a waist swivel. Hips can go out that far. He can kick forward that far, and back not so much. He has a thigh cut, and then double knee joint, can kick his own butt, and then no boot swivel, but he does. But his ankles can go down, up, and he has the pivot. So with all that out of the way, let's get into my final thoughts on this figure. This is a strange one for me to talk about just because I have always wanted a full X-Men uniform live action suit ever since, we saw Wolverine. We, of course, got it teased in the Wolverine movie. And with the Logan movie, I thought that was the end. We would never see this ever again. But the fact that Hugh Jackman came back and he's in the yellows and blues is incredible to me. And the fact that we have this in figure form is even more so. Now, the thigh issue, I do wish that they were thinner, but again, I can work with that. You just got to pose them the right way, and it kind of hides it a bit, especially if you do it from the side. It really hides how thick the thighs are, because from straight on, they look really thick. But probably what people are going to bring up, or what I've probably seen brought up the most, is the bare arms. He doesn't have the mask when he is full suited like this. He only has it when he has the bare arms. I wish they would have included a set of bare arms as well, but I know Hasbro's just going to re-release it down the line with the bare arms. So, the whole reason I bought 3 of this figure was I could have the 2 that you saw as is, one with the unmasked head, one with the masked head. Then the third is going to be custom fodder, because I know down the line they will release a Wolverine with bare arms, so that when they do, I can buy multiples of that one and have a masked and unmasked with the bare arms. And then, just for me, because I want that ideal Wolverine comic costume, I would buy another one with bare arms and take the custom fodder figure and put shoulder pads on. And even now, I'm considering buying a Kazar to do the shirtless Wolverine. So basically, what I'm getting at is I love this costume, and I love the way that they executed this figure. Is it a perfect figure? No, absolutely not. I wish the butterflies got more range. I wish the torso got a little bit more range. And I wish the thighs were a little bit thinner. Those are my complaints. But with all the pluses that this figure has, and the fact that I bought 3 and want them to do more Wolverines, is a good sign that it is one of my favorite figures of the year. So, am I completely and utterly biased? Yes, I 100% am. I will not sugarcoat it. I am biased. But I still think this is a good figure overall, especially if you want a more classic movie Wolverine to go not only with your Fox figures, but also with your MCU figures or Wolverine collection. This can fit in many spots. Now, does this figure have fun factor? Absolutely. I'm trying to ramble on a little bit longer for Wolverine because I know I took an absolute crap ton of photos of him, and I just had a blast. The second I got him in hand, I could not stop posing him. He has been one of my favorite desk figures for the entire time I've had him. He was my most, maybe second most anticipated joint for top first place of the year. And he just delivered so well. So yes, he has the fun factor. I had a blast. I hope that comes across in the photos, and I hope you like the photos that you're currently seeing right now. So what do I give this figure as a final rating? I'm going to give him a 9.5 out of 10. No, he's not perfect, and I do wish some of my complaints were a bit better. Like, just more range and less thigh is my main complaint of this figure, but of course I would have liked to have seen more. Oh, something I didn't mention is I wish I had a masked head with an angry expression and an unmasked head with an angry expression. These neutral expressions are fine, but I wish I had more options there. At the same time, I know that'll probably be included when they eventually do a bare arm Wolverine. So, while yes, that is something I wish I had for this figure, I expect them to do it for next figure. So, but yeah, that is all my final thoughts on Wolverine. Alright, and that is my review of the Marvel Legends Deadpool and Wolverine movie wave. What did you think of the video? What do you think of my opinions on the figures? If you have a different opinion, that is completely fine, but share it down below. Let me know if you disagree, agree, but just please be civil. That's all I ask. If you are also so inclined, make sure you leave a like on the video. Make sure you are subscribed, and I will talk to you all in another video, another post, another time.